Great day, great day. No, you know what? Spectacular day, world. Hopefully everybody's super great and getting better. Hey, we right back at it. It's a lot that's been going on. You know, we in the midst of March Madness and things of that nature. So people are doing all types of things to grab the headlines. NBA hasn't yet started their playoff run yet. You know, everybody's still trying to clean up, fight for those last few positions in the NBA. But playoff is not just quite there. College is kind of garnishing all the attention. So we got a whole lot of back and forth going on between a lot of individuals, and we're going to get to it all here. Welcome back to the Corey Webster Experience. I am your host, Corey Webster. I am C Webb, and we're going to jump right into it. There's a lot been going on. You got caught up in any of this beef that's going on, back and forth between LeBron James or Team James versus Team Stephen A. Smith, or maybe you got caught up in the whole Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and Ashanti Samuels. Did you get caught up in any of that?
Beef, I don't discuss.
All that. Before you get to all of the beef or all of the back and forth going on, Giants have a quarterback. Actually, Giants have two quarterbacks. They just recently signed two quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, and the wait is over, Russell Wilson. Everybody been waiting to see where Russell was going to sign. I was going to say Russell Simmons. I don't know why.
I know every time you hear the word Russell, you always give him a new last name.
Yeah. Sometimes he's Westbrook. Sometimes he's Simmons. Today I didn't do Westbrook. I went with Simmons. I have no idea why that name was the first to come on. But anyway, I apologize, Russell. Russell Wilson, as you just recently saw me with the pictures, they had him, signing, as well as he almost did like a press run, They had him at the Knicks game. You saw him with the Knicks stars, Madison Square Garden, everybody welcoming him to, the New York Football Giants. So that was all good, I think that's cool. But where does that leave the Giants? Will the Giants now draft a quarterback, or will they move in a different direction? I guess only time will tell. But, I think it's great for the current players. You have a young Neighbors there that last year he was showing a little bit frustration that he was able to hold it together. I think he had a great season. But I think with the signing of these two quarterbacks, it gives the locker room a sense of we're moving in the right direction. Now, where do they go with the draft? Do they still go get a younger quarterback to have for the future? I don't know. There's a lot of pieces that's out here, especially with a hard salary cap. Yes, the hard salary cap is in place in the NFL, but it's moving up a little bit this year. This year they're going to have a little more money to play with, right? They're going to have about, I don't want to lie to you, I want to give you the right thing, $279.2 million to play with. So how they use that money would be very interesting. Do they get a younger quarterback, a Shedeur Sanders talent to add to the roster? It may be play behind Russell Wilson for a year, or see how his development is once he's on, I don't want to say the campus, but once he's on the grounds there in East Rutherford. Or do they now get the best talent as far as the draft? Do they, go get address defensive back issues? Do they go get a pass rusher? Because a lot of has been said that, the future or the past, I start off with the past picks hasn't lived up to the expectation that they wanted. So do they go and get a pass rusher? Or do they go ahead and start planning for the future and get some offensive linemen to protect the quarterback and also start to build a running game? So all that's going to be interesting in the near future. I think it's a lot of variables that goes into that. When you talk about drafting the franchise quarterback, I think right now we're going to see New England Patriots is kind of in that position where they had a coach last year. They drafted a quarterback last year, right? And now new coach is going to come in, and is that quarterback the fit for that new coach that's coming in? So I think the Giants will be in that position next year if they do decide to use the number 3 pick overall to draft a quarterback. Because if it doesn't go well and we don't have a great season, will the people that draft him this year be the same people that's coaching him next year? Does that make sense? Or do he pull, hey, it's been done before, do he pull a Eli Manning and say, hey, look, I don't want to go to the Chargers. And if I go to the Chargers, I'll wait till next year's draft. I'll just train and wait till next year's draft. Does he pull that and get to the team that he wants to go to? Maybe a team that have new regime, new GM, new head coach, kind of a fresh start so he can build with those guys? Or do those individuals, it just be interesting with that. You know what I mean? I think Shador and his team has a plan. You know, he's been opening up to say that, you know, he'd be willing to get drafted by any of the team that drafted him. You know, he talked about the Raiders, he talked about the Saints. You know, all those guys are drafted very high. But it'd just be interesting to see. I don't want to, you know, put no, because I think words are power, very powerful. So I don't want to put no bad, nothing on the Giants. You know what I mean? I want the Giants to have more success than they had last year. And I hope they fulfill the needs of the roster so I can be a true fan and I can cheer them on and they can be competitive. I think they started by making those acquisitions toward the quarterback position with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I know you're going to be excited because, you know, Jameis Winston is going to be doing a couple of maybe pregame speech, or he's going to be having the microphone doing interviews around there. So it's never a dull moment when I see Jameis around. You know, he's always, you know, getting people, you know, engaged and laughing. It's never, you know, a dull moment. I like to, you know, I enjoy when he's behind the microphone. You know what I mean? Now, him underneath the center may be a little hot and cold because I think last year he had about 15 touchdown passes to, I think, 14 interceptions. So it's kind of up and down, you know what I mean? But needless to say, he's very entertaining when he's behind the mic. Any thoughts on the Giants in their situation?
I think they have something pretty good right now. But we'll have to see what they decide on this draft. But like you said, the Giants hold the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 draft. They have several strategic options on the roster. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm just happy, you know what I mean? And not to say that they did, you know, I think the last quarterback is still there, DeVito. He's a New Jersey guy. You know, he's a fan favorite, so he's still there. So I just think that move that they did does keep the locker room, just like they did last year, amongst the, you know, the inconsistency that they had. I think that keeps the locker room together. And they said, all right, guys, you know, they're moving in the right direction. So I'll leave it with that, man. Welcome Russell Wilson and his family to the New York Football Giants. And hopefully these guys get to work, start building in OTAs and things of that nature this offseason, as well as when, you know, the draft happens. Those guys are welcoming and, you know, taking guys under their wings and showing them how to be true professionals. And, you know, we can make some history soon. So I ain't going to over-talk it. You know what I mean? We're going to move on to the things that you really want to talk about, all this beef that's going on inside of the NBA. So let's talk about it. How you feel about Team LeBron, Team Stephen A. Smith? What side you on? You picking sides? Are you picking sides in the beef? I ain't picking no sides. I'm going to let you know right now, I'm not picking any sides.
What?
Yeah, so the recent back and forth between Stephen A. and LeBron, it just, man, I don't get it. You know, I'm one of the ones that I don't like to go back and forth with individuals, you know what I mean? I was always taught that if two individuals are going back and forth and I'm watching them from a distance, the person that's watching from a distance can't tell who's the clown or who's the, you know what I mean? So I you know, I'm not getting into it with them. You know, I'm not wasting the discussion, right? I'm not wasting my breath. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with you having your own opinion, and I'm okay with you expressing that opinion. I don't know if I can say, because I don't know if I've ever been in a position that somebody took a personal shot at my family or at myself, that I thought that felt personal. Because me, as far as, somebody talking about, what you do as far as your play on the court or on the field, I take it with a grain of salt. I don't listen to it, you know what I mean? And most people that's in my circle are not going to bring it to me. Now, with the media and social media, which is a part of the media, sometimes it's hard to do that now for these athletes and for even the younger athletes, right? Because they take a lot of those jabs that are viral moments, so to speak, personal. And I don't know whatever happened between the ins and out of the Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James relationship. Seems like, from my opinion, that something was said about how LeBron was being a father when it came to Bronny James and his draft position, right? And whatever was said as far as the father side of it, meaning like you put him in this position or something like that, I would like to say that I don't think Bronny or LeBron should be, I guess, the poster boys. Oh, I don't want to call them boys. That's my apologies. The poster family for nepotism. Because this date back longer than anybody can see, you know what I mean? And not just to tweak it a little bit, right? Just to touch it. When Jeannie Buss was handed over the Lakers because her father passed away, rest in peace, and the brothers didn't get it, whatever reason. Where was all that energy then? You know what I mean? And we can go on to different, you know what I mean? So, seemed like individuals took a position with Bronny James and LeBron James in order to kind of blackmail or hold LeBron hostage in a longer having the ulterior motive type deal. All right. People, man, what do you mean when you say that? Well, I heard this from Stephen A. that he didn't have a problem with LeBron. That's how he initially started this off, right? I didn't have a problem with LeBron. He has a problem with me. And his problem with me is only because I picked Michael Jordan to be the GOAT. And he's never going to surpass Michael Jordan. Doesn't matter what he do, right? I don't see that as being the issue. You know what I mean? Because I'm never a person, I'm not going to argue with you. I hear all the barbershop talk and all that, but I'm not going to get back and forth with you in barbershop talk. And that's what it looks like, this whole podcasting game and the whole media. It's about, what people argue about in the barbershop. Now we done moved that over to podcasting and mainstream media, right? So I don't think, and I don't know this personally, I don't think that wouldn't bother me. I say that. That wouldn't bother me if somebody picked an individual over me. Just recently, I got a great friend. We just had this conversation. A great group of guys that I'd have mentored and things of that nature, right? And one of them decided to pick a DB over me. Now, this is a text group of people, right? So now I told him how I felt about it, and I also gave him my 2 cents, you know what I mean? And we communicated that, but I didn't lose no respect over it, you know what I mean? That's his opinion. That's what he want to go with. Cool deal with him, you know what I mean? Now, he got to live with that, you know what I'm saying? I'm not about to argue about, well, look what I did versus what the other person did, you know what I'm saying? So, but from a person that picked and you chose, You got to stand on choosing. So you chose to pick who? LeBron James. I'm sorry, Michael Jordan's over LeBron James. So he's entitled to have and feel how he want to feel about that. Point blank, period. But now I see Stephen A. going on a rant and also spilling over false information in his rant that he's going on because he talked about LeBron not being there at Dwayne Wade's statue. LeBron not being there, rest in peace to Kobe and all of those individuals that have passed on. He talked about LeBron not being at Kobe's memorial, and then had to retract those statements because he wasn't, I guess, brutally honest or telling all the truth. Also, I heard him say, in the midst of that if LeBron, in that moment of them having that encounter when LeBron approached him at a game, that if he had put his hands on me, I would have had to put my hands back on him. So now I'm like, okay, where we going with it? You know what I mean? And I told you that recently, these podcasters or these guys from the media talking about, let's catching a fade, let's catch a fade. I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? This is, so I guess LeBron went another step further and put up a funny video of Stephen A. boxing or whatnot, or lack thereof boxing or whatever the case may be. Man, he was working out, right? He was getting his workout in, and then Stephen A. had to combat that with, man, I had a torn rotator cuff or whatever like that, you know what I'm saying? And it just seems to get to, I guess, a level of pettiness. But at the end of the day, for me, if I'm in that position, man, I ain't got time to respond to a Stephen A. or anybody in the media that's having no opinion on what I'm doing now. But again, that's LeBron, and that's any player that decides to set boundaries, because boundaries is a healthy way of self-care. So, individuals talking about, it being an incident that we had between Will Smith and Chris Rock. So if you know yourself, then set a healthy boundary so it doesn't get to that point, right? So that's maybe what LeBron was doing. He was setting a healthy boundary. Now, when it comes back from the riffraff after that, Shannon Sharp, he puts his 2 cents into it. I'm going to say this. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A., they have a show together, right? First Take. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to cover Bronny and LeBron going forward. Because from my perspective, remember, I like to be an observant podcaster. I thought that since Ben, Shannon Sharp had did a job of talking about LeBron, building him up, and he was like a president of the James fan club. And nothing wrong with that, because I'm a fan as well, you know what I mean? But it'd be interesting to see how he's going to continue on that path. And I also say this, man, it also goes to a little bit of what Kwame Brown said. If you remember Kwame, he was like, man, I was an 18-year-old kid. Why were you, Stephen A., on that campus or on the path of researching me as an 18-year-old kid and then talking about me in that way? Because even though he may be 7 foot tall, 18-year-old is still a kid. He's just a kid in a grown man body, but mentally, you know what I mean, at that point, he's still a kid, you know what I'm saying? So why are you on that campus looking for that kid and talking about that kid that way? I'm also going to say this. I saw a clip where Bronny James went over and I don't know when it's from, but he dabbed up, shook Stephen A. hand. And for me, man, it's hard for me to see that a young kid that had that level of respect for you, that came over and whatever the daddy did, but that kid himself, how can you talk about that person in a negative light? You know what I mean? And don't do this to me. man, I truly don't like when people say, oh, that's my job. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a cop-out. You know what I'm saying? When you say, oh, that's my job, I got to critique it the way I got to critique it. I feel like that's a cop-out. And that's not just for Stephen A. Smith. I'm talking about anybody that's behind the microphone or in front of the camera. It's a level of compassion that comes with it. Even if you don't think that they're ready for whatever it is, it's a level of compassion that can come with this in you voicing your opinion and being honest, because a lot of these individuals like to use these big words, you know what I mean, have this nice, healthy vernacular. I don't think it take that to express yourself, right? But I think you could do a better job of choosing your words wisely and putting together a statement that has a level of respect for yourself as well as for the person that you're critiquing. So I ain't gonna over talk it, you know what I'm saying? But that's my perspective on that. What you got, man? I know you said you had some questions for me.
Yes. From a fan's perspective, do you think Stephen A. Smith crossed the line by discussing Ronnie James, or was it fair sports commentary?
I don't really know all that went into it, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it could be levels that, you know, he done went on little rants, you know what I mean? It's levels of, oh, I know more information that I'm telling, so I'm going to ask this question right here, and I want to get feedback from this question, but I'm asking this question based off of what I know, and you better answer it because you know I know more than what I'm saying right here, because I got all these, you know, what you call them? What they call them? Receipts or sources. I ain't gonna say receipts because we don't know if it's true. You know what I mean? We just insinuate that I have this. I have these different sources. That's why I'm not a fan of sources, because if it's honest and it's true, tell your sources. You know what I mean? If we doing any paper, journalism, right? If we in any classroom in America, you have to cite your sources to give that story, ready, some type of validity, right? I know they like to use those words, you know what I mean? I don't think it takes that much. To give that story some level to stand on, you know what I mean? And if you don't have those sites, then they can catch you for plagiarism. It can get you for giving false information or not giving facts, you know what I mean? So I think true journalism ought to come with that level of citing and that level of, you know, where you get your information from. That's the only way it's going to be true, not just trying to be first.
Got you. So, from a player's perspective, should players have the right to set boundaries on what media can and cannot talk about?
Most definitely. I think Marshawn Lynch did a great job, you know, out in the public of saying, hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, you know what I mean? And he was able to turn that into a brand itself. Other ones are, you know, maybe more strategic and know how to navigate it. But I think he built a fan base doing it that way. But yes, you definitely got to set boundaries, especially when it comes to the more and more the media can get behind the curtains with like social media and things of that nature. I think they're doing more and they're trying to dig more, right? So you have to set healthy boundaries on what you're going to talk about, what you may not want to talk about. And I'm guessing when LeBron felt that they was questioning his father decision, he thought that was, hold on, that enough is enough. So, and that's just my perspective from the outside looking in. So I think it's, yes, set healthy boundaries because your mental health is very important.
Nice. Well, let's go from an analyst side. Do you think Stephen A. Smith is justified in his critiques of LeBron, or is he going too far?
Only if the critiques come from on the court behavior or things that are happening on the court or that's affecting on court.
Right. So just stay out of the personal.
Stay out of the personal life. You know what I mean? Me being a father, my son getting the ability to play a sport or get drafted. I don't care if it's guaranteed money, no guaranteed money, draft slot. No. If it becomes a thing where it's personal to the personal life, then it's an issue. I'm critiquing, man, did he get that rebound? Did he take that late shot when he should have, or did he pass it when did he take the charge? Did he make the right decision? All those things are cool. But don't insinuate that, man, just because LeBron is on the team, he's making or pulling the strings from behind the scene. Even if you feel that way, if you don't have that and know that to be the very truth, because your sources can be cited in saying that, you shouldn't lead with that. And you shouldn't insinuate that, give the fans a false narrative just because that's what you feel. Don't say what your sources say. Say what's actually happening or what you can actually cite in your journalism work. I'm going to say this too, and this is not a question that you asked. I think sometimes a lot of the media that, even some people that have played the game, they want to be one of the guys. You know what I mean? They got some coaches that want to be one of the guys. Sometimes you can't be one of the guys. It's either in you, it's not on you. You feel what I'm saying? So, they want to be, some people want to be cool and want to fit in. And now with all the podcasts going on, it's some players that can ask questions that maybe some journalists or some people that's on the outside looking in can't ask. And that's okay. That is okay, right? Just continue to do your good journalism work and do your research and, be entertaining, but don't cross the lines when it comes to that. And I hate to say this, but for the most part, you're never going to be one of the guys. They're never going to let you in. It's just some circles that you can't get within because you didn't do some of the things that they have done. Some circles can be broken into. But when it comes to, blood, sweat, and tears, those circles, it's harder to break into those circles if you haven't put in the work that they put in. Now, that don't take away from the work that you actually putting in from what you're doing, and that don't make you less of a person that's, in the job that you have, or less talented, or, but I love and I appreciate the people that serve our country. The true soldiers that allow us to sit on these platforms and to do the things that we want to do boldly and confidently. But I can never be in their shoes. I'm never going to put myself in their shoes. I don't want to be in that in crowd. I'm going to always look to them as being the true heroes. And when I see them and I have an opportunity to express that to them and give them their flowers, I'm going to continue to do that. But I'm never looking to be one of those guys. I'm just going to always be on the outside saying, I appreciate what you guys do, man. Look, I can only imagine. I can't say I know what you're going through. I don't. I can only imagine what you're going through. And what can I learn from you guys? What can I learn and use it as far as from a team perspective, a family perspective, right? And that I can say, hey, man, I talked to those individuals and we can use some of that to build cohesiveness or to build a chemistry or a rapport or to be trustworthy. And I'm going to say I got it from those individuals because how they debrief. You know what I mean? When we have something, how do we debrief openly, honestly, and transparent so it can make us better individuals? Because this is how the Blue Angels debrief. So I'm never going to be, but I can appreciate their work. I can learn from those individuals. So I think sometimes the media, being around those individuals and how they build their platforms, I think they think that they're going to, be, hey, I'm just one of the guys. You can talk to me. A lot of people say that's why they said, they came up with the phrase. I say phase or phrase?
Don't you say phrase?
They came up with the phrase, the mics are never off. A lot of media guys are coming, hey, this is off the record. How do you feel about Eli Manning? Now, they didn't say that to you. Then you be like, oh, man, Eli, whatever. I'm using Eli. Eli, I love him. I'm just using because we was teammates. But now Eli, my guy. But they would do that in a way that's manipulative and then try to get you to let your guard down and you speak on a topic that just maybe candy or jokingly, and then they take that sound bite and run with it. So you're never going to be an in guy like that, you know what I'm saying? So you're never going to have that type of level of insight. So I know that was long, but I just want the folks to understand that a lot is going on. And I'm sorry, go ahead, your next question. I'm not going to keep over talking.
Yes, this is the last one that I have for you. Is LeBron right to call out the media for what he calls weird energy toward him and his family?
Again, if they have crossed those boundaries as far as questioning his decisions as a father, then that has nothing to do with basketball and his play on the court. And as of lately, Bronny has been playing well, you know what I mean? The development, the whole nine has been going well. So let's also state that, you know what I mean? I think we did a little talk about that recently, how he handled some of the media, things of that nature. But, you know, he scored 17 in his first career high in one of his NBA games. And then he followed that with 39 points in one of his G League games. So he's doing well. So, again, it's a lot of people that we could talk about, you know what I mean? Don't just pick up a subject just because of what the family holds, you know what I mean? Bronny has a big following, LeBron has a big following. So we know that that's going to garner some attention. So don't just grab that topic to talk about it just because of that. Have some true, just have some true story or conversation of what's going on. Like, go watch the Bronny game and say, hey, man, on the court, man, look at this play right here, man. You know, he's not doing X, Y, and Z, or he's doing X, Y, and Z, or he wasn't doing this right here, but now he understanding, man, look, he's playing with more confidence. Look, he's, not slow. What I mean by slow is sometimes when you don't have the confidence or haven't seen the ball go through the rim, right, you may play a little slower than usual. Now he's playing without thinking. When I mean without thinking, I don't mean he's not being cerebral. I mean, he's able to understand what's happening in front of him and is able to react and move at a way that the speed of the game has slowed down to him, and he fits right in. He's controlling some of the pace of the game now. He's not just always reacting, you know what I mean? He's responding to it and things of that nature. So do a good job of critiquing, what's actually going on the court and his development. I think that's a beautiful story in itself. Let's hear about that, not about the position that his father put him in or anything like that. Like, let's talk about his game. And I think that'll be enough, you know what I mean? Just talk about his game, talk about his progression. That's enough to talk about.
Thank you for that.
I had something else about this subject too. Because at the end of the day, because also what happened was LeBron has never been on Shannon Sharp platform. So I don't know if the weird energy is coming because of that either. And he recently went on Pat McAfee's show to talk about and address the Stephen A stuff. And Stephen A kind of went on other individuals' podcasts. That's why LeBron threw a jab in there talking about the Taylor Swift thing and everything like that, right? So LeBron has a podcast coming out, and I think it's with Steve Nash. So he used that, the Stephen A, to promote that podcast. But he went on Pat McAfee and promoted. So maybe these guys, especially, Shannon was a big fan. Maybe, Shannon wanted that interview. I think anybody will respect a LeBron James interview, you know what I mean? So maybe Stephen A wanted him to be on the Stephen A show. Maybe Stephen A wanted him to come on First Take. Maybe Shannon wanted him to come on Club Shay Shay or Nightcap. LeBron didn't. He went on the Pat McAfee, which is in the same building or under the same umbrella. I'm not going to say it's in the same building because looked like LeBron knew that he was playing the Indiana Pacers, and Pat McAfee show was out there in Indiana, so he, strategically looked like he decided to go show him and pay him a visit, as well as promote the podcast with him and Steve Nash. And I don't know, maybe this is like I talk about that blackmail. You didn't come to my podcast. You didn't come to my platform. So that's why I say it'd be interesting to see how those guys report on the Jazz family, LeBron, and the Lakers going forward. Will Stephen A continue to be a big fan? I'm sorry. Or will Shannon Sharp continue to be the big fan that he's always been? Or is his energy going to get weird? Because now I think people are going to be looking for that. And I think it's going to tell a telltale sign of how you've been reporting. You've been biased as long as you can maybe get the LeBron James interview, but now that you're not going to get it, now I'm going to critique it differently. So have you been, selling us fool's gold in how you do your journalism work based off of how people interact with you and not giving us facts? I think that's going to be the big, question going forward, to see how those guys report on Bronny, report on LeBron going forward. Will that energy change now? So I think Kwame Brown might have been right about some of this stuff. You know what I mean? When he talked about Stephen A. coming around to his workouts and stuff, following the 18-year-old kid around just to say negative things about him. You know what I mean? And that's not cool. That ain't good journalism work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Moving on. You got more beef? I don't like beef. What's the next beef you got?
Coach Prime and Asante Samuel.
Yeah. DBs. Now, you know, I know a thing or two about DBs. I think this started over the bicycle footwork versus the T-step footwork. Asante Samuels, you know, he's a well-decorated, you know, DB. Deion Sanders is another very well-decorated DB. And look, let's say this. When it's convenient for us, we say men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Well, if you pull up certain numbers from Samuel and Deion, they look very similar. So it all started with a post, I'm guessing, that went viral on social media, that Deion put his perspective out on. He don't like the T-step. The T-step is a technique that you use to get in and out of your brakes to change directions, right? The bicycle is another technique you can use to get in and out your brakes and change direction. Well, the bicycle, and I'm gonna say this too before I even get, for some people, either could work. Yes, some people may have a certain preference and others may have a different preference. But to some athletes, they could use the T-step and be great. Some athletes cannot figure out how to use the T-step, so they have to use the bicycle, which is kind of more natural, and it works for them. Some people, when they use the more natural bicycle, they have a lot of false steps involved into it. And I don't care what you're doing in life, if you have false steps and wasted movement, it's going to slow you down. So guys that use the bicycle, if you can't bicycle off of one step and brake, then you're taking additional steps, and that's going to slow you down because of the additional steps, the additional movement. The T-step is an efficient way of using one step to change direction. And I think Samuel has a lot of right to what he's saying about the T-step versus the bicycle step, just from a person that played the position. I know it, you know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, it can be your personal preference. And if it works for you, kudos to you. Now, where we get into it at, I'm not a fan of comparing times and our people. Why I don't compare times, right? I'm an African-American man. I play sports. I'm from Louisiana. And at one of the high schools in Louisiana called Old Magnolia High, where some of my dad, uncles, some people that's from my village, they went to, we don't have no records to say what those African-American men did. Now, I heard all the stories and I see all of the athletes, but we have no records, no writings. We didn't keep none of the information to see what those individuals did. Why I'm saying that? Because at the high school that I went to, which was the integrated high schools, that at one point in time, blacks went to Old Magnolia, whites went to St. James High School. St. James High School have records that they kept. With that being said, J.J. Redick talked about, I forgot who he talked about. I'm sitting there wearing a Pistol Pete Maravich jersey right now, so that's kind of fitting. It was a time where blacks played in one league, whites played in another. J.J. Redick said that the league that the white was playing in, it was, one athlete playing against a bunch of plumbers. JJ Redick words, not mine, right? So it's hard to compare those times, right? You have times where African American wasn't even allowed to play in that. So I don't like to compare time. So when Deion played, some would say he was talented and skilled ahead of his time, where that could be true, but we can't compare times, you know what I mean? Right now, they can say it's a lot of athletes that have been training, that have been skilled, that's talented, and they're doing things that athletes that came before us haven't done. So for me, I don't like to argue about time, but I will say this. Just because the term shutdown corner came with one of the athletes, that doesn't mean that he is the only shutdown corner or lockdown corner. Ashanti Samuel in his right is a lockdown corner. And why would he sit here and say that any other man is better than him, when not only he has the stats to prove that, hey, look at this, and I'm going to say this from my perspective, man, I don't care about no gold jacket, I don't care about no Pro Bowl, no All-Stars, none of that. None of that make you or your technique superior to the next person. Whenever I've seen a goat, it's very rare that I see a goat by themselves. What do they call a herd of goats? It's always a lot of them. So I just think whoever thinks that Deion is their GOAT, that should be okay. Whoever thinks that Ashanti Samuels is the GOAT, that's okay too. But I'm here to tell you right now, all you young guys coming up, it's a way that you can have respect for the people that came before you, but also feel like you are the very best, because your thoughts, the words that you speak are very powerful. So you can still think that you're the very best, but be respectful to not feel that you're not hurting anyone that came before you or the people that you're playing with. If I'm on a team and they have other cornerbacks on the team, I should, and you should as a kid or as anybody coming up, feel that you're the very best at whatever you're doing on that team. But the individuals that's in that room with you, they should feel the same way as well. That's the only way you're going to get the best out of each other. So I've never sat down in any room and thought that it wasn't never an idea in my mind. Didn't matter if I was playing whatever sport that I was playing. When I walked in the basketball gym, I thought that I was the very best in that gym. Same way when I went in the receiver room at LSU, I felt that I was the best receiver in that room. Now, at the end of the day, I also wanted my peers to feel the exact same way. Same way in the defensive back room. I never walked in the NFL or in the professional room and said, man, that guy better than me. Nope. I always thought I was the very best. So you should feel that you're the very best. And for a person to say otherwise, I ain't got no argument, because I'm not going to argue with them. You know what I mean? But that's for them. That's nothing to do with you. And you have the right to give your opinion to that individual. So this notion that we got one GOAT and that's it, that's lame to me. And we could call it barbershop talk or barbershop argument or whatever the case may be. But it's happening on a major platform where people putting up LeBron better than Jordan, better than Kobe. But then we don't put up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and all these other individuals that in their right can be the very best. So I don't like to compare times. I guess it's good for the algorithm. But Yeah, Ashanti should feel that way. And Deion should feel that way too. But that doesn't make Deion right or superior. And it very well doesn't make Ashanti right or superior to anything. Every other person, it's a lot of individuals in there should feel that way. And if you don't feel that way about yourself, that's on you. If you feel like, hey, that just maybe you wasn't talented as that individual. Maybe, and that's okay to feel that way as well. And that doesn't mean you're not successful. But I think the notion to say that one is superior than the other, or because one has been garnered all this attention, it almost feels this too. I say this, and I've been a fan of the sport, a fan of the position. I played the position, but it almost looked like for the Deion side right now that they've been branding and marketing as the best DB, the best defensive back. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like now. And I'm not talking about just him. It may have happened just naturally, you know what I mean? But now that's what it's looking like, you know what I mean? And if you don't brand or market yourself that way, then that's not what it is. You know what I mean? Nah, I don't believe that, man. Earl Manigault is real. You know what I mean? If you don't know who Earl Manigault is, hey, some of our best athletes are not in professional. I know that might be a hard thing to believe, but we have some individuals that have been superstars that didn't, for whatever reasons, whether it's, streets, whether it's off the field, off the court things, educational things that we never got to see. But that doesn't mean that they wasn't the very best. And I just think we should allow people, because that's true feelings. I don't want to, we can't sit here and tell Ashanti Samuel that, hey, that's not true what he's saying. Who are you to say that? You know what I mean? Who are you to say that the feelings, the mindset, the thoughts that Ashanti Samuel has is not real? Along with the career that he's had and things of that nature. So, there's a lot of politics in everything that we do, and it won't stop now. Politics is deep into sports. You know what I mean? What have you done for me? Versus, somebody staying out the media spotlight. But, man, I think it's a lot of individuals at a lot of different positions that's what I like about these mics, that can speak up now and tell their own story and control their own narrative. And I think for the most part, you coming out defending it, it's not your lane. It's not for you to do. You know what I mean? Let those individuals have they backing for it. Now, if Coach Prime want to answer back, I don't think it needs nobody else to step up and say, "Oh, you're not even in the class of Prime." That's not your job. That's not your job. You know what I mean? I guess you can have an opinion on it because now everybody has a microphone and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But for a person that played in it and a person that put blood, sweat, and tears in it, I don't think that's my job to tell Ashanti that he's wrong about feeling the way he did. I think he should feel that way. I think Scottie Pippen should feel the way he feel, you know what I mean, that he was one of the best, because that's the truth. That he was the very best, because that's the truth. You know what I mean? And this is not, no, that's his truth versus that truth. Nah, that's the truth. You know what I mean? He had to feel that way in order to go against the best, in order to perform the way he performed. And why take that away from him now? That's how I thought. I still think that way. As I progress and I get better, when I was on the field, I was the best. And I don't care if you put a gold jacket on you or because people voted for you, that don't make you better than the person that doesn't have that. Facts. You know what I mean? It's a lot of individuals that, walked on and became big in the position that they held and how they helped contribute to the team's success. You know what I mean? I say this too. I know this may come off a little harsh. Again, I think they both should be able to feel the way that they feel. Prime feel like he's the best, cool. Samuel should be able to feel like he's the best. I'm clapping and supporting both of those individuals. But I never saw this argument come up. I never saw this argument come up behind Coach Prime. When Coach Prime went to the Cowboys, they was already a successful team. That's just the way it is. That ain't me saying it. You know what I'm saying? Go look it up. He didn't turn around the Falcons. Now, I know the notion is, man, the Falcons felt like, they just want to let me go and prosper. Well, indeed, I think whether he went to the Cowboys or not, they're probably going to win the Super Bowl because they did it before he got there. Same goes to when he left the Cowboys and went to San Francisco 49ers. They was already known for winning Super Bowls. And I say this is just follow it. After the Baltimore Ravens won, Coach Prime went over there to play with Baltimore, Ed Reed, after they won 2 Super Bowls. So, I don't know. Y'all do whatever y'all want with the information. I'm still, I'm a fan of Coach Prime, but, the truth is the truth. You know what I mean? And trying to say because I have the bigger microphone and I have more friends that's in the media that's going to promote and brand the narrative that I'm trying to push, I think that's a little bit of a stretch to me. You know what I mean? And that's me when we talk about journalism. That ain't cool. People are entitled to their opinion. Let them have their opinion, even people that played the game. So shout out to Samuels for bringing this in because, a lot of people didn't have the guts to say this. You know what I mean? So, and he put up stats, to go along with what he said. Coach Prime, I think he did, great, laying down some leg work and some grunt work to put the DB position where it is, you know what I mean? But it didn't just stop there, you know what I mean? It keeps evolving. That's what we want the game to do. We want the game to continue to evolve at every position. And, I always want my teams that I played for to do better once I've left there, you know what I'm saying? So kudos to all the guys out there that's GOATs in their own right, you know what I mean? It's just what it is, man. I never saw one go roaming around together. It's always impact. So I ain't gonna overtalk it, but I do all the time, overtalk it. But you say you had some more questions for me. I got some answers. Keep it short.
One question, and that is,
come with a good one. Don't just, if you're gonna do one, you gotta come with a good question. Don't just pop off and be a random question. You may have to have 3. I see you looking because you're rubbing,
Mm-hmm. What do the numbers and film say? Does one footwork method actually produce better results over time?
I would say the T-step is more efficient, more effective. The bicycle, it's hard to eliminate wasted motion with the bicycle. The T-step puts more cleats in the ground so you can plant, explode, because the T-step is not only just your foot. You're also bending at the ankle, bending at the knee, and bending at the hip, loading. So the T-step goes to a lot of the workouts that you do, meaning it helps you get in a position that's most powerful to you to do explosive exercise. What is explosive exercise in the weight room? Power clean, hang clean, split jerks. All right? Plyometrics. So you're loading that foot. That is the most efficient way to stop by being at the ankle, knee, foot. T-step helping you put more cleats in the ground, as well as to explode out, to jump high, or to redirect yourself and change direction. And if you do it well, you stop and load off of one foot and you gain ground with the opposite foot. And a lot of people call that closing speed or beautiful transition from one direction to the opposite direction. And I say this, in doing a lot of the drills, let's think about the L drill, the shuttle that they do for the draft. Everybody is T-stepping or side planting in those drills. Nobody's using bicycle. So you take that with a grain of salt, but I just think the T-step, I know the T-step is more efficient than the bicycle, because the bicycle, you're only putting that top foot in the ground. A lot of guys slip coming out of that bicycle, or they take 2 or 3 extra steps, and it's just hard to do. But again, some people can be effective with the T-step. Some people can be effective with the bicycle. But for a fact, the bicycle is the more efficient one. I'm sorry. The T-step is the more efficient one. I'll give you one more. That's it. I'll give you one more. I see you looking. You need some more clarity to some of this stuff that's going on. I'll give you one more.
All right. I said I wasn't going to do it, but one more. All right. Has this debate changed how fans should evaluate past and present cornerbacks?
I think it should allow fans to understand that it's more greats than just one. You know, this whole notion that it's only one GOAT, get over it. You know what I mean? Because the goalpost can always be moved. You know what I mean? Everybody can have an argument to it, right? You go to the quarterback. Well, Tom Brady got 7 rings. Cool deal. You still got Joe Montana. You still got all these other quarterbacks that are GOATs in their rights, you know what I mean, for the things that they did. So the fans should be able to understand that your favorite player is your favorite player, and that player can be a GOAT. And none of this stuff, gold jackets, Super Bowl rings, yes, they're good. And yes, I enjoy them, you know what I mean? But none of that should change your opinion. Just because a guy don't have a gold jacket, that doesn't make him not great or doesn't make him a GOAT. Just because a guy has a gold jacket, that doesn't mean, they give people gold jackets for everything. Let me tell you, I know you was upset trying to figure out why Jerry Jones got a gold jacket.
True.
You know what I mean? So they give him out, you know what I mean? And I'll say this, Deion talked about that. Now he want a different level of class when it comes to gold jackets, because he said they give me gold jackets out like nothing. So I told you this, how long ago look, they've been calling me, before I knew the term All-Pro, they was calling me that walking around Magnolia. I'm from Magnolia Heights to be exactly, right? From Bastrop, Louisiana. They was calling me All-Pro before I even knew what it was. So none of the awards never meant nothing to me. Why? Because I like the competitive nature. I done been on every basketball court. I done destroyed some of your favorite receivers. You know what I mean? When they ask me who are my top receivers, I'm still saying the ones that I played against at LSU. Michael Clayton, Benny Brazil, Dwayne Bowe, Craig Buster Davis, Junior Joseph, Skylar Green, Devery Henderson, Jarrell Myers, Reggie Robinson. See where I'm going with this? You know what I mean? Josh Reed, Biletnikoff winner. And not that the awards mean nothing either, because that don't mean nothing either. I was just shouting out Josh Reed in that moment, right? Those are still the top receivers that I went to, and I played against all of them because of the competitive spirit that we had at that time. You know what I mean? So, I love the mythologicalness that came with it. I don't know if that's a word. I made that one up.
No, it's a word.
Yeah, but I love that what goes along with that. You know what I mean? Man, you pulling up at a basketball court, they're not expecting you to be there, and then you take over the basketball court. And now, because they didn't have phones, and now that, I remember when Corey did this in basketball. I remember when he showed up. I showed up at Rucker Park, to the point where they wanted me to take over a Rucker Park basketball team in the league that they do. We'll get Leo on to verify this. They wanted me to do the whole, I want to say one of the teams that Fat Joe had, but I don't want to go into that. But I'm talking on a normal basketball day, not putting up with the cameras, right? And even in Louisiana, man, some of your favorite hoopers, nah, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying it doesn't come with, just because that person may have had a better career or they promoted a better career, that doesn't mean that they can't be what they are. Last one, because I told you I was going to give you 3, and that's it. I ain't telling you no more. It's your last question. It's your last one. So, yeah, I think the fans got to get over that point. No, or they have to understand, yes, you can argue that your player is the GOAT. And that's the barbershop talk. It ain't no putting your foot down, somebody saying, no, it's the GOAT because of this reason or that reason. So I give the fans that, man. Keep arguing for your team or for your player.
Gotcha. That is it. That's a wrap. I don't have any other questions.
You lost all your questions? Well, like I said, y'all always jump into the comments. If you didn't like what I said, hey, comment about it. You know what I mean? We could go back and forth to a healthy discussion, because I always want this to be a healthy place for people to come in and provide their opinion, provide their perspective, right? We talked about the T-step versus the bicycle. Let me know your thoughts. We talk about Team LeBron versus Team Stephen A. Hey, get in the comments, hit the like button, turn on the notification, and we'll see you next time. We out.